Okay, POE. I was talking to everyone about how we're going to be creating generating concepts for your cars, your remote control vehicles. And one of the things was for virtual students, they were like, well, how do I generate concepts for something that I can't even really be there to build? Since their job is going to be specifically to program something, a good way to generate concept sketches or to kind of plan things out is to write like just basic flowcharts. And we're going to try to talk a little bit now about how to create a flowchart. And there's some very specific terminology that goes along with it in order for everybody to be able to understand how a flowchart works. And basically, this is a order of logic. It's an order of a logic flow on how to actually get something to occur. So the first thing is we're going to go ahead and draw like a little oval, and it's an oval with a flat thing on the top and bottom. And this stands for a process or a program start or end. So this is the process beginning, or this is the process end. Okay. The next different one that you're going to see is a symbol that looks like a rectangle, and this is just your general line of code that actually does some kind of process. So anything that does the thing is going to be this rectangle. And normally you attach a line that goes between them, and that shows you the flow from one spot to another spot. Usually flowcharts kind of either go straight from top to bottom or from left to right, but if you get some really complicated ones, they can kind of go all over the place. And there are so many different types of things for these, but I'm just going to go over the basic ones because we just need to know enough to be dangerous here. The third one, and probably a really important one for us for this programming, is going to be it looks like a diamond, and this is a decision structure. So this is whenever you have to make some kind of decision. In programming, this is usually going to mean that we're going to be dealing with like ifs. Okay. And let's see here. I think there's probably one more that we're gonna need, and it's gonna look like a parallelogram. So it looks like a box that you kicked over to its side. This one will be important to us as well too. Anything that requires input or output is gonna need this little diagonal kicked symbol that goes along with it. So let's go ahead and use this kind of like as an example. So in any kind of process, you're going to need to plan this stuff out. So if you're going to, I don't know, do something really, really simple like go buy a soda from a Coke machine, you have to make a lot of different decisions. So I'm just going to quickly sketch out this flow chart. And I'm not going to get fancy because this is really just supposed to be like a quick sketch. So at the beginning, you have to kind of decide and be like, hey, I want to buy a Coke. And then you're like, okay, well then what do you do? So like in order to actually buy the Coke, you're gonna have to do something. So and a lot of people at the next point, they would say, oh, well you have to, and then they would go like, you have to decide which kind of soda you want to buy. And the answer is no, you actually have to make it to the machine first. So the first thing that is the first process is to actually move from point A to wherever you are to the actual Coke machine, which would be point B. So we have to move from point A to point B. After that, then you have to gather input. So you're actually going to try to collect and see what choices are available. So we're going to gather data, and whenever you gather data, that's an input or an output. So we're going to see what choices are available, because sometimes things are sold out. So sometimes we may have to make that decision and like be like, I really want a Coke, but then you get there and then there's like a Sprite instead, and it's like, oh no, well, I guess I'll just have to deal with it. So we'll have to see what we can buy in this case, and that would be an input and output. Okay, and then after that, you get to actually make the decision. So we're going to go ahead and put this in and say like if Coke is there, then well, we can actually do a thing. If not, we may have to make another selection. So in this case, we have two different options. So if one of them works, we're going to go down to the next one, and that's going to be push the button. I didn't really give myself a lot of space over here with all this writing that I gotten on it. That's supposed to be button. And normally you write these big, you make these shapes big enough that you can actually put the text inside there. I'm just trying to show you guys a general layout for what's going on. This is a quick concept sketch. This is just generating concepts. And if it doesn't, you're going to need to actually move back and you're going to have to go back and see what you can buy. So, like, if you're like, oh, I really want a Coke, and then it's not there, well, that decision has to go back and be rerouted to see what else is actually available to buy. And then once that actually happens, you're going to push the button. And then after that, you're going to reach down and collect it. So, we're going to say collect the soda. And then after we collect the soda, that's going to be the end of the process, and you have successfully completed a logical flowchart on how to actually move from one spot to another and buy a soda. So obviously these things can get pretty complicated pretty quick. When you're making a flowchart for your programming designs, it's a good idea to write these out, especially whenever you look at it and you're like, I have no idea what to do. And the first thing to ask yourself is, okay, well, what do you want the thing to do? And you just basically have to go through and individually identify every single action that you're going to try to make and every single decision that you're going to have to make. And usually those decisions can be translated into code. Fortunately for us, we'll use a little bit of block code, so it's going to be very easy for us to grab these and move them around. So that would be how you make a flowchart. So if you're generating concepts or ideas, I highly recommend that you guys use a flowchart to move along with that. It'll be really useful for you, and it's a good idea to use in the long run too. Y'all have a great time, and I'll talk at you later.